Hi everyone, this is Winson from Epilepsy Research Team, University of Malaya. In this episode, we are going to talk about epilepsy from the perspective of genetics. There are several basic terms used in the genetics you may need to understand. So genetics is actually a field in biology concerned with the study of genes, gene variations, and inheritance. A gene is a sequence of DNA that determines protein made in our body. Different proteins serve different functions and ultimately determine our body development, growth, and function. DNA is an acronym for deoxyribonucleic acid, which looks like a ladder being continually twisted. It's like a blueprint which contains all the information necessary for our body development, growth, function, and reproduction. A gene mutation is a permanent change in the DNA sequence that makes up a gene. The mutation can potentially lead to abnormal gene function, and the mutated gene is called a variant. So now we are done with the basic terminology of the genetics. Now let's move on to the main topics. So, is epilepsy a genetic disorder? Well, there are many factors that result in a person developing epilepsy, and genetic cause is one of the factors. So, not all epilepsies are caused by genetic causes, and not all epilepsy that are due to genetic causes are inherited. Some people develop epilepsy without family history of the disease. Currently, there are more than 950 different genes found to be associated with epilepsy. These genes are involved in various functions in our brain and nervous system, such as the ion channels, enzymes, receptors, cell structure, and cell signaling. So the mutation in these genes can disrupt normal gene functions, thus may cause epilepsy directly, or epilepsy syndromes has the main symptom, or may cause brain developmental malformations or other physical abnormalities accompanied by seizures or epilepsy. Next, what are the chances of inheriting epilepsy? Though not all epilepsies that are due to genetic causes are inherited, there is still a chance that epilepsy can be inherited to the next generation, depending on specific gene involved, inheritance pattern, and type of epilepsy. In general, the risk for a person to develop epilepsy by the age of 40 is less than 1 in 20 if the person has a first-degree relative with epilepsy. However, the risk of developing epilepsy increases if the first-degree relative has a generalized epilepsy rather than focal epilepsy. Furthermore, the chance of inheriting epilepsy may differ significantly if a person has a relative suffer from epilepsy with a known genetic cause. So, how can you find out about the risk of epilepsy for yourself and your children? Well, there is a genetic testing available for several known genes associated with epilepsy. You may talk to or consult your neurologist or an epilepsy specialist about a referral to a genetic counselor. They will be trained healthcare professionals who will review your medical and family history. Now, it is clear that genetics is playing an important role in understanding epilepsy. However, the exact genetic mechanisms or causes have not been properly identified in many patients. Participation in the genetic research of epilepsy is very important for improving our knowledge on the nature of epilepsy and develop better treatments. If you want to contribute to our progress in genetic research of epilepsy, you can do so by donating some of your blood to the Epilepsy Research Team, University of Malaya. Epilepsy can be inherited in two ways: autosomal inheritance and X-linked inheritance. In autosomal inheritance, it involves the chromosome that is not a sex chromosome, and there are two different types: autosomal dominant and recessive. Autosomal dominant inheritance means that only one of two copies of the gene has a disease-causing variant and is enough to develop the disease. If a child has a mother or father with this condition, then the child has a 50% chance of inheriting the variant. The chance of developing epilepsy will depend on the specific gene involved due to incomplete penetrance. Incomplete penetrance refers to a condition in which not everyone with a particular disease-causing variant will develop the symptoms of a particular disease. On the other hand, autosomal recessive inheritance means that both copies of the gene have a disease-causing variant. Then only the disease can be developed. In this case, the mother and father are carriers of the variant, meaning that only one copy of their genes has a disease-causing variant. In this scenario, a child has 25% chance that both copies of the gene have the variant and develop the disease, while a child has 50% chance inheriting the variant and becoming a carrier. In X-linked inheritance, it involves specifically X chromosome. There are also two different types in this inheritance, X-linked dominant and recessive. The ways of dominant and recessive inheritance work are pretty much the same as in the autosomal inheritance, but there is some difference between autosomal and X-linked inheritance. Often with X-linked inheritance, a daughter with the variant may be similarly unaffected or mildly affected, whereas a son would be more significantly affected. However, this is not always the case and depends on the specific gene involved. So, I hope you enjoy watching this episode. Thank you and goodbye.